Well, hello everyone. My name is Michelle Moras, and welcome to Mental Shift. And what do we do at Mental Shift? We talk up to people who are around the world, and basically they've had some sort of enlightenment, something that happened in their lives where they found this other thing and that they're doing it. And basically, I met this next gentleman. He's right there on the screen looking at you right now, and I met him through the Wisdom Foundation. I I joined a class. I joined a Sunday afternoon class, and I learned so much about me, the way I thought in the world, and met so many other people just like wanting more knowledge. And I said, now, how do I get more of this? How do I learn more? And so I reached out to Vinayji, right? From the
Perfect.
Wisdom Center. And I said, please come on to my podcast because I want you to meet the rest of my friends. So let me give my commercial for what you do real quick. Okay.
Thank you. Please.
Okay. So, oops, talking about the other thing instead. So the Wisdom Foundation is dedicated to the study, research, and decimation of the glorious truths of the Santana Dharma, right? The eternal truths of life and living. It was founded by this gentleman right here, Vinayji, and he's an established philosopher and self-management expert. The Wisdom Foundation is committed to spreading the knowledge to the maximum number through public lectures, study classes, workshops, corporate seminars, youth interactions, and wisdom retreats. And that is how I ran across him, is through one of his Sunday courses. Please welcome my friend, my new friend, Vinayji.
Hi, Michelle. Good morning. Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me, and happy to connecting with you, all your wonderful audience all over the world.
Yes. Well, the thing is I wanted them to meet you because I've been peppering some of the things I talk about in my podcast and my other broadcasts about things that I've heard on your Sunday courses. And
Wonderful.
I didn't know how to connect them because it was like, oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to just do that. So I didn't. I'm like, I'll just bring them onto my show.
Thank you.
Well, Gerline has joined us already. Brian has joined us. Please, everyone out there listening, if you're watching right now and you're listening, please share this right now because the wisdom that is about to come out of it, you want to be here and your friends want to be here too. Because I'm learning a lot today. I'm about to torture this. Let me see if I can say it. Vedantic.
Absolutely. You got it perfect.
Okay. So what is that? What is Vedantic knowledge?
All right. See, the word Vedanta is derived from two words, Veda, another word is Anta. So when you bring these two words, Veda and Anta, so these two words, Veda and Anta, put together, it becomes Vedanta. Veda means knowledge.
Oh.
Anta means the end. So the literal word Vedanta means the end of knowledge, the highest knowledge ever known to mankind. So the word Veda are the very source of all learning, of all knowledge. They are the very parents of all knowledge, where everything has emerged from. So Vedanta is also known as Sanatana Dharma. The Sanskrit word, two words again, Sanatana, Sanatana, Sanatana Dharma, Dharma. Sanatana Dharma literally means eternal principles.
Oh.
Sanatana means eternal, something which is ageless, something which is timeless, which is applicable to all periods of time, something which is applicable to all walks of life. So that which was given in the times of yore, was applicable then. It's very much relevant to our lives and the challenges we all face today. And whatever be the world 20, 30, 50, 100 years from now, it will still be very relevant to the concerns of humanity then. And that universal applicability of this wisdom, it is called eternal. On contrary, something which is ephemeral, like we pick up the papers every morning with a cup of coffee or tea. We want to see what's happening in the times, what's the current news, invariably in every home. What's the state of that newspaper which we are so anxiously looking forward to hear what's happening, what's happened the previous day, what's the breaking news? Somebody has taken the newspaper for some chores, for cleaning up the glass, or it's gone. We do not know where. It has no relevance what you read yesterday to today. Therefore, it's a very beautiful, very famous English saying, read not times, read the eternities.
Oh, I've never heard that.
It's a very, very profound saying. Read not times, read the eternities. So the word sanatana means eternal, and dharma, it's a very beautiful word, dharma. The Sanskrit word dharma, it's very broad, but it's fair to interpret dharma as principles, essential principles of life or living.
Okay, well, my question to you then is, it's eternal wisdom. How did you find this? I mean, what brought you to this?
What brought me to this? It just happened as a sheer accident. I was not prepared for it. I didn't know anything about it. It happened 3 decades ago. I was just 16. I just finished my exams. I was just lazing and watching a movie at home. And my father just pulled me up and said, hey, come along with me. I think you will like what you will go to listen. Because from a very young age, I had a liking or a flair for the English language.
Okay.
So much so I'm not so good at my own mother tongue. I don't claim myself to be any good at English though, but I had a liking for the language. So my father said, come along, you will appreciate this man is a great orator. You would like his command over the language. And it was for a large audience, over 1,000 over people. And I went there. I was naive. I didn't know what I was getting into. But that one evening, there was a lecture on the very famous Indian scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. I'm sure you've heard of it. I'm sure all of you have heard of the great text Gita, from which appears in the epic Mahabharata.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lecture, it's a philosophical discourse. But no sooner I got into the talk, I was completely blown away by the contents. Forget the language, forget the packaging. The message made so much sense to me. And even before the end of the discourse, something innately connected with the message. I was so ready for this wisdom, and I wanted to pursue this. And that evening, I decided I want to plunge into the study. I wanted to explore what this wisdom is, because I knew that there's more to life than the mere mechanical existence. There's more to it. Life has a greater purpose. It has a greater meaning. And something within me told me, this is what you got to get into. And I tell you, I've never, ever repented that decision I had taken that evening to plunge into this wisdom. And it has been an unbelievable inward journey, an inward discovery every day. Every moment you're trying to discover yourself, because the journey is inward. It's been a fascinating journey. And that's how I got into it. And thanks to my parents, and they didn't understand what was this boy talking about, because I didn't know how to justify what I want to pursue, because it didn't exist in my mind till that evening. And no sooner I came back home, I said, I want to pursue this. I want to explore this. And all they said is, go ahead. If you think that's what your passion is, go ahead and pursue it. I'm so grateful to them and thankful to them. And this is where I am. I'm trying to share what that great wisdom which has been laid down by the galaxy of thinkers of yore. And the only thing I would say is, why should we be interested in what they said then? Because that knowledge or that wisdom is knowledge of life and living. In short, if you were to put it in a more palatable way, this Sanatana Dharma or these eternal principles are nothing but laws that govern our lives. They're just laws.
All
They're not all laws. They're not opinions of people. They're not views, but they are laws. Just like science is a subject which talks of all the laws which govern the world. Isn't it? We have physical laws, we have chemical laws, we have biological laws, we have the gravitational law, we have got the physiological laws, etc., etc., etc. All these laws, a book of science you pick up, these all laws, people with an intellect examine, they verified, proved it, and they have established their scientific studies as laws pertaining to that particular subject. So science is a branch of knowledge which deals with the laws which govern the world.
Yes.
Vedanta, or this wisdom, is also innumerable laws which govern a human life. So it's safe to say wisdom is organized life, just as science is organized knowledge.
I like it. I love it. Well, and if only, I guess I can't say that, you found this so young and dedicated your life to basically constant improvement.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And to start the Wisdom Foundation, it's a great place for people who are looking to find themselves and to find who they really are, to come and learn from you, with you.
Yeah.
Right? I want to put this scrolling on the bottom while we're talking, because as you talk, I don't want to interrupt you because I find you absolutely fascinating. I'm a deep thinker, and this is what you do: is you sit and you talk, and we talk together in those in the forums on Sunday. I know you have other ones, but definitely on Sunday we talk and you ask us direct questions and say, why do you think that? Why do you believe that? Where's that from? And it forces us to think inside, and we can't even look at everyone else. We look at everyone else, and everyone else is like, I'm next, I know, so you go ahead and answer. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
To explore the mind and where we are in the universe. So here, for those of you who are just checking in, thank you so much for everyone who's watching, and go to the wisdomfoundation.co.in. And if you have questions, you can go to info at the same thing. I'll keep it scrolling. But Vinayji, I always call him Guruji, and I'm going to continue to call you Guruji because it's much easier for me.
Perfect.
He's got courses throughout the week. He's got a Sunday course, a Wednesday night course, another Sunday. Yeah, Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. And the Sunday one is the one I love to go on to. But we'll go into that later because I want to learn more. I want to share more about where you are, who you are, and basically the knowledge you share. I'm going to put the other question up so people can follow along. Because right now the world is going through so much.
Yep.
And what I wanted to ask you is, when the world is giving us and posing so many problems, I mean, how do we change that so that I can function better? And so here, let me put that up. When the world poses so many problems, how do I change it to suit me? And so basically, for our audience, how do they change it for themselves so that they don't feel so overwhelmed and angst, basically?
Yeah. See, a very interesting question, Michelle. But if I could just say a very important aspect on what this Vedantic wisdom is, and lead us to this question.
Okay.
As I've said, it is nothing but eternal principles. It is talks about the laws which govern our life. In fact, in a layman's term, it is nothing but a manual to life. Life cannot go on without unfolding and discovering what this manual is. Just like everything we pick up in the world today comes with a manual, isn't it?
Almost.
Yes, almost. But most of it, I suppose. And then if you've got a hang of it, you don't need the manual. But like other day, we picked up a coffee table from IKEA, and I was trying to fix it, and it comes with two sets of screws with an Allen key, and then it has two different types of screws, and it has this and that. And I had to go step by step, just to ensure I put the right screw and put the right place. And in spite of having a manual,
Still
and I'm fairly good at it, it took a while. Even a simple thing like other day, we were trying to set up a new printer. Now, how the hell do I set up this Wi-Fi printing? How do I set it up? I had to go through a manual. So everything in life comes with a manual. Now, even life and living has to have a manual. And when we have not understood that living also needs a manual, and living also is an art, you must learn how to live, just like any other art. Whether it be painting, whether it be it sport, whether it be it carpentry, whatever it be, you need to learn it, isn't it? It doesn't come naturally. Now, one of the biggest mistakes, I would say, from the point of view of the scriptures, from this men of wisdom, but the biggest mistake we all have made, are making, is we don't realize that living needs a manual. And the price we are paying is because we have not heeded to their wisdom. Now, how does this wisdom help us with our life? In fact, life, in very simple terms, in a Sanskrit term which describes life as Anubhava Dhara. I'm just compelled to use the Sanskrit words because then they have a very great origin. It's not my imagination. The very origin of how we would define life. Originally, life is defined as Anubhava Dhara. Anubhavam means an experience. Dhara means a stream, a flow. In simple terms, a continuous flow of experiences is your life, is my life, is for that matter anybody's life, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, an experience constitutes two essential ingredients. One is the individual, another is the world. And it is this interaction between the individual and the world that brings about an experience. And a flow of such experiences is life. Now, just for a moment, am I making sense, Michelle?
Oh, yeah, perfect. I just have a thought in my head I want to ask you.
Okay, maybe you want to take a note of it. So if you look at the world, in the equation of life is individual and the world and the interaction that brings about an experience. Now the world, if you take care of the world, if you look at it, the world has gone through a world of transformation.
Yes.
It has gone through phenomenal change, the kind of advancement, every field, whether it be it science, whether it be technology, whether it be it medicine, whether it be it conveniences, we are pampering ourselves with press button comforts, aren't we? What was the world 50, 100 years ago vis-a-vis what the world is? I don't think people from the past can recognize the world we're living in. Asphalted highways, beautiful mowed lawns, lovely villas, luxurious cars. You can jet speed the world. You can conquer. You can do unimaginable things.
We're talking across oceans.
Absolutely, absolutely. Isn't it? Isn't it a wonderment that the world has become such a beautiful place for us to live in? World is being bettered. Everything out there is being enhanced to make our lives more peaceful and happy and contented. But alarmingly so, the reality is quite the contrary. It's not an observation, but it comes with a lot of understanding and backing and a lot of research. And the observation is that as the standard of living is increasing, the standard of life is deteriorating. There is a great imbalance between the quality of living and the quality of life, isn't it?
Well, quality of life, and then it's almost like the standard of living goes up, but the problems are also going up.
Absolutely.
You would think with with advancement there would be less problems, but no, it follows.
So there is something is amiss.
Yeah.
Now, when we believe that my life will be better by changing the world, as long as you believe your life will be better by changing or transforming the world, as long as you believe that, you will realize there's a lot to correct outside, but you have left yourself unexamined. You have not corrected, you have not taken any measure onto yourself, because life has two equations, two aspects in the equation, rather. It is you and the individual. We will go and try to reform the world, change the world wherever we can. But remember, there's another important element in the equation, which is you, the individual. Who am I? So it is not in as much as sitting and complaining that the world doesn't fit into my expectations. It is for me to sit and make a very conscious, realistic assessment of what is the world that I'm living in.
And what's my part?
What's my part in establishing a right relationship with the world? If you ask me, it is not the world that causes the problems. It is your wrong relationship with the world that causes all the problems.
The perception we have of the world, of our reality.
Yes, the perception. It is how you perceive, you believe. So I'm very much enamored and love with the tag you have for this lecture series, the mental shift.
Yes.
You got to bring about a paradigm shift in your mental approach to life. Unless and until you bring a paradigm shift, you will not change your life nor your perception to life.
Exactly. And
I'm sorry, Michelle, a simple example, if I can I
please. No, I'm geek, so I will listen to you for hours and hours.
So sweet of you. Thank you very much. It's just a simple analogy or an example. Let's say a person comes back into his home where he has no power. There's no light. There's no electricity. And he finds his way through the fittings and furniture. He gets himself hit with the nooks and corners. And every time he would curse himself. Next morning, what he would do, he would go about rearranging the furniture, believing that this would be an easy way passage for him to sail through the house with the fittings and furniture, and goes back to work, comes back the next evening and again gets hurt. He carries on that way, aligning, readjusting, reshaping, refitting the furniture, but he gets himself hurt because he keeps hitting himself in the nooks and corners. A wise man said to him, "My dear, leave the furniture as it is. Just bring some light into your room. You will be able to sail yourself through the mess that could be around you. The fact that you're hitting yourself with the nooks and corners is because there's no light in your life." Similarly, you have mental accidents in life because it is not because the world is any less perfect. It is because you have less wisdom. I am not able to align my expectations to what the world has to offer. It's the most important lesson we all are taught in this Vedantic study is remember that the world is not designed to cater to your whims and fancies. Remember, the world out there, the world you have chartered, the world you have created is not designed to cater to your whims and fancies. It is for you to understand the unique nature of who and what the world is. Whom am I dealing with? What is the nature of that individual? What is it that he brings to the table? I need to make a clear-cut assessment. And once I have that clear assessment, and when I'm able to align my expectations with what the world has to offer, I will have a perfect relationship with the world. So the answer to the question, what do I need to change with the world? Let the world be as it is. If you realize that it is my wrong relationship with the world that's causing the problem, it's not the world. A person picks up a cigarette and smokes. He finds great joy in it. Another person detests smoke. Now, would you blame the cigar for that? No, there's nothing. There's no joy or sorrow inherent in the cigarette. A lady goes up to the lawyer and says, I want to divorce my husband. It's impossible to live with him anymore. Not a day I can bear with him. Another lady is waiting to marry the same man.
It's all perception.
It's all your perceptions. Is anything wrong with the man or is anything wrong with the lady? Nah. There's nothing wrong with the things and beings of the world. It's how you perceive, how you relate. So leave the world as it is, isn't it?
Yes, and that's why it's so important that I want people to go to the wisdomfoundation.co.in, because this is the type of lessons we have when we join your courses. And we just go on and we talk and you pose questions that people do, wow. And I mean, you have been studying this for 30 years. And so many of us, we do, oh, there's so many problems. Now, how can I ever get to that? You know, I want it now. I want it now. And how do I get all this emotional mess out of my head? Because it's happening now. And that's why I want to ask the next question is, how do we avoid that emotional entanglement in this world where we as humans, we feel this need to control everything that happens around us? And as you said, it's a flow. Life is a flow.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we're riding on a boat. But as human, our nature is to want to put an anchor on it and understand that and control all those emotions. So how do we avoid that emotional entanglement that we have with the world?
This is the crux of the question. I'm so glad you asked this very pertinent question, Michelle. I just said it is not the world that we are dealing with. It is our wrong relationship with the world. The world may fit into a mental pattern. The world may not fit into a mental pattern. It is for us to understand what's the world. Now, when we talk of emotions, in fact, it is the beauty of a human is to have that broad spectrum of emotions. A human being is blessed to have the variety of emotions. But to have these emotions is a blessing. When I say that, the animals and the plants, they don't have that. It's only a human that has emotions. But also, it is not human to be a victim of your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So to have an emotion is a virtue, but to get entangled, get emotionally affected by your emotions is a curse.
We have a question for you before we get too far out of this, okay? It's
Please,
related to the other question, but he writes, if the world doesn't cater, how does magnetism come into play? And he's referencing The Secret, the book.
Could you clarify the question a little further?
If the world doesn't cater to us, so the world isn't designed to cater to our whims and fancies, how does magnetism come into play? Oh, because in The Secret, I think they talk, the author talks about positive brings positive, negative brings negative. So if the world isn't catering to us, if we are projecting out positive, more positive, if we're projecting out negative, more negative, I think that's what the question is.
Okay. See, a very interesting question, Brian. See, a human being has an individual existence and the world has an individual characteristics of its own. We got to understand that. In the Shastras, in the Gita, or in the scriptures, they say everything, every being has what is known as its nature. It has its nature. Like you understand the nature of a carnivore vis-a-vis the nature of a herbivore. Mm-hmm. The nature of a fox is to be cunning. The nature of a cow is to be meek and mild. It doesn't matter what my perception of a carnivore is, what my perception of a cow is. A cow is meek and mild. It's a matter of fact. That's what its nature. A fox is cunning by nature. It's not what my perception is. But here we're talking about the right relationship with the world. So when you understand every individual is functioning according to their own personality, their own, what is known as, a Sanskrit word for that is known as vasanas. Vasanas, the Sanskrit root for the word vasanas is vas, the first three alphabets, V, A, S. The word vas means fragrance. So every individual has a certain fragrance, has a certain persona, has a certain personality. That is his unique nature. So it is for us to understand and make the right measurements as to what that person or what that situation is, and make the right contact. Now, but when your perception to the world is positive, whatever the world throws at you, you're able to take it in your stride. You're able to accept it gracefully. You're not affected. You don't, if somebody criticizes you, if somebody is talking loose about you, if somebody is gossiping about you, you understand that is their nature. Because he has got vasanas to gossip, they are gossip mongers. That's their nature. But when you have a positive perception, we're talking about the magnetism here. When you have a positive perception to that, their actions, how would you perceive it? You understand it is their nature. You understand they're helplessly functioning according to their vasanas. You are not affected by it. In fact, you have a very magnanimous attitude and you forgive their childishness. What are we talking? The famous words of the great Christ. When Christ was being crucified on the cross, what were his words? He said, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. How can a man who being on the cross say that? Because of his magnanimity, because of his wisdom. He understands. What else can you expect from a childish mind? They didn't understand the greatness of his teachings or his wisdom. So if you understand that, you will be able to forgive. You will not have any animosity in your heart. You are pure because your life is nurtured, your life is crafted, your life is built around your perception. So you have a positive approach to whatever the world throws at you. Like a sportsman, he gives his best shot, but he has lost the game. He'll go across to the opponent and say, congratulations, you have played a better game today. I'm happy to lose to a better sportsman today, a better game. You don't have any, you feel sad that you lost the tournament, you're out of the tournament, but you'll feel happy that you won, you lost against a person who played a better game. You go and congratulate. You don't have any animosity to the other person, isn't it? Why should there be an otherness? Why should there be a hatred? So let us go about spreading this love. So as I said, your mind has got beautiful emotions, but mind has got negative and positive. A host of them. Just to mention a few negative emotions, your mind has got emotions like attachment, anger, envy, jealousy, greed, hatred, lust, etc. And your mind also has got lovely positive emotions of kindness, pity, love, charity, forgiveness, sympathy, being empathetic towards others, and so on. So you should know which emotions you obey, which emotions must be made to obey, which impulses to obey, which impulses must be made to obey. So there is a higher element beyond the mere play of emotions, so that you have a perfect control over your emotions. I know people have lost a long-term relationship just over a snap because event of anger, that emotion, a burst of emotion, they have snapped relationships. A long-term relationship over a whiff of emotion, a mere passing emotion is enough to end a lifelong relationship. When you look back at that, you would feel sorry. I said, man, what have I done? I wish I had wisdom prevail over that situation. I could have handled that emotion well. And yet, at the same time, you can use the very same emotion to correct someone. Let's say your child is not listening to, not doing something, not doing a homework. You may just put on an act that you want to correct your child. You just raise your voice just to alert the child that enough is enough, man. You can't take it for granted. Better buck up. Get on with your studies. So you're just putting on an act. Yet the same emotion, anger, you have used. So it is fair to say you can use anger, but you should never lose your anger. Control. So emotional entanglement is when you have lost control over your emotions. And this is the price humanity is paying for not being able to harness their own mind, harness their own emotions.
Well, you mentioned something, and I want to ask you this question.
Please.
What love versus attachment? I mean, you mentioned love and as a positive emotion, and then attachment. A lot of people consider that the same. I love you, therefore I'm attached to you, or I'm attached to you because I love you. And how do we? What is that? The relationship on that.
Michelle, I must give a lot of credit to the way you are taking the whole discussion forward. The way you're positioning the questions is very apt. Hopefully, I'll do justice to these two beautiful terms, often misunderstood.
Yeah.
So the question is, what is love versus attachment? Now, I think we got to put aside our perception to what these terms convey, and just be very receptive to what is coming your way. I would request all of you to just be receptive so you understand what's the concept, all right? Because you may be using these terms in a different context, in whichever way you want. But to highlight the difference, there's a very conscious way these terms are coined. Now, love is nothing but it's a pure emotion, an emotion which is uncontaminated. It is pure. When you say, I love someone, you're exactly able to identify with the other person. You feel for the other person. So love is nothing but identification with the other person. So what gives joy to the other person should give you joy. What gives sorrow to the other person should give you sorrow. That is when you have a genuine, pure feeling for that person. You love them for what they are. Now, let's say, I take an example. Your husband returns from work, and you know that he is going to have a very challenging day. And you did come to know that things didn't go very well at work for him. But he comes back end of the day, and you prepare a cup of coffee, and you prepare the dinner he loves, and you're waiting to receive him. He comes and spends a few moments with you, and he says, dear, it's so comforting just to be with you in your company, just to unwind and relax of all what has happened the whole day. And you're having a normal conversation. A few moments later, what the wife does, she says, you know, I've been wanting the diamond jewelry for a long time. When are you going to get that for me? Here is husband sharing his sorrow or grief, and he feels that he finds comfort in her presence. But what is the wife doing? Instantly, she's not able to receive the love from the husband. She's not able to share his feelings. Instantly, she's encashing that love or that emotion which the husband is giving towards her. She's encashing. She's abusing that emotion for her own self. Now, why I had to convey this, give this example, is what I'm trying to convey is when you abuse a particular emotion or a feeling for your own well-being, it becomes attachment, your own gain.
Okay.
So attachment is loving oneself. When I say I love you, do I love you for what you are, or do I love you because you're able to satisfy me in some form or the other? Whether be it materially, whether be it physically, whether be it emotionally, whether be it intellectually, or whether be it spiritually. In some way or the other, I am being benefited in this mutual relationship. Because I am being benefited, I say, I love you. Let's say for some reason, the other person is not able to satisfy you in some form or the other.
Do you still
What
love
happens? Correct. This fundamental question, do you still love that person? Or what happens to that emotion of love? Does it take a dip? Is there a form of otherness or a hatred or a separation? You don't feel that identification with the person? That is a very clear sign that you love yourself, or you love something the other person is doing for you, but not the other person as he or she is. So I would only conclude the concept. Therefore, love plus selfishness equals attachment. Is there a way we can put that equation up, Michelle?
You keep talking, I'll type it.
All right, wonderful. My God, you're a master woman. You are.
So wait, it's
Love plus selfishness equals attachment. Attachment minus selfishness equals love.
and spell attachment. Okay, so let's see. I do it right.
Perfect. Love, just that spelling of selfishness, but that would do no harm. That's fine. Love, that's all right. Love plus selfishness equals attachment. And if you take out the selfishness of that equation, go back to that relationship between husband and wife. Take out that selfishness. You're able to purely identify with what that person is and what he brings to the equation of the relationship. If you have that pure emotion, you have a pure feeling, a pure relationship.
So what is the definition of love?
Attachment minus selfishness is love. So when our emotions are adulterated with our own selfishness, it becomes attachment. And whenever there is a selfish relationship in any attachment, relationship doesn't last. Because it is impossible to constantly keep satisfying the other partner. Just because I love you doesn't mean I have to agree to everything, isn't it?
Correct.
So when there is a disagreement in any relationship, are you able to feel and think and understand from other person's perspective? When you're not able to accommodate and understand the other person for what he brings into the equation, there's a rupture in the relationship.
Love it. I love it.
Great.
And I really wanted you to answer that question so badly because I've seen so much of that. They time together. Attachment is love, love is attachment. And it's a very difficult way to explain it. And so by you giving that equation, the math person in me loves it. Love plus selfishness equals attachment, but attachment minus selfishness equals love. So if you're looking at someone, you say, I love them because of this and this and this, and it's all outside of who they are, That is not love, right? That is an attachment. And so don't make a long-term relationship on something like that. I talk to a lot of young people and I do,
Yeah.
stop looking at it. I said, if you want to give yourself a really good definition, if you're in a relationship and you say, if that person would stop talking and never move again, paralyzed from the neck down, do you still love them? Will you still be there for them? Will you always
Absolutely.
be there? Yes, that's love. If
That's
you
love.
say, I'm out of
Absolutely.
there, I'm not going to take care of them, that's attachment. Don't do that. Stay away.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've sealed it. You've sealed it. Wonderful example.
I love it. Now, everyone who's out there listening, all of you who are watching, please don't just watch and listen. Share this, because Guruji this is how it is when you go into his courses at the Wisdom Foundation and the hour goes by and you're like, what? Already? And that's really what's happening right now. And this is why I wanted him on the show, because I wanted you all to meet him. And when this podcast is moving to a TV show called TNC out of the Philippines, so it'll be on a whole nother channel. And I still will have Guruji coming with us every month is what my plan is, because the wisdom that he is sharing, it's eternal wisdom. I mean, this is the book of life, and we can all learn no matter where we are. And the thing is he's been doing this for 30 years. The objective is we're all learning at all times for the rest of our lives. And together we can learn and grow into the best versions of ourselves by growing and adapting and in questioning what's going through our minds, questioning why we see things as we see them. Why do we have that lens on? And why do we, question yourself? That's what growth is. Now, my next question, because I want to get to the other questions. There's a lot of stress in the world. And we started off with that, with the world being as, in COVID and all those things. A lot of people are experiencing stress and anxiety and mental stress, depression. And they're getting stuck in this loop of, I can't control everything. And I know we've talked about life as a flow, and it's not the world that we control. It's us that we need to learn to control. How do we perceive things, and what kind of lenses are we looking at the world in? But here's my question, because I know someone's asking this right now. How does one deal with the challenges of mental stress, anxiety, and depression? I mean, it is overwhelming sometimes. And people like you and I say, control yourself, get quiet, control yourself. But how does the layman person who's just out there doing, I'm watching you right now, how can I be helped right now? What can I do? What small steps can I do?
Right. I think let's fall back onto that, the fundamental principle we spoke about a little earlier.
Okay.
The fundamental principle we got to understand is it's not the world that's the problem. It is our wrong relationship with the world. There's a simple analogy that's always been pointed out. See, if I were to point my finger at you right now, this pointing finger, the ego, when I were to point this, let's say if I'm pointing at Michelle, if I believe something is wrong with Michelle, and there's nothing wrong with her, but just for discussion's sake, if I point at you, what's happening is right now is the three other fingers are pointing towards me. Mm-hmm. So I could have a threefold flaw at all my levels of physical, mental, intellectual flaw within me. But I'm looking at the world outside. When my perception is outward, when my perception is extroverted, I find flaws and imperfections out there. And you will blame that the world is not fitting into my expectations. But the moment, see the same position, when the ego turns towards the thumb, when the ego which is pointing towards, as I say, this is classic. Okay. But this mudra is known as the Jnana mudra. Jnana mudra means a symbol of wisdom. This is the mudra. Now, when the ego, you do that even when you're doing yoga, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So it is very divine. It's very symbolic. So the ego, which is pointing outward, when the ego turns inward towards the thumb is the self, the reality, the consciousness which is within. When you turn inward, the body, mind, and intellect are turned upward. You elevate yourself. So from this, you become this. So the only way you can conquer anxiety, stress, depression, all the mental agony, you can only control it by fundamentally understanding that it is self creation. We have ensured everything in our lives except our mental peace. Today, your mental peace is not your proprietary, it's not your property, it is others' commodity. So others seem to have a toll on your mental state because you have sold your peace and happiness to others. You don't believe that peace and happiness is mine. And if I have lost it, it is my own creation.
So
And how
recreate it.
we make it. So because, see, I have no control over the stock market. I have no control over the weather. I have no control over others' emotions. I have no control over others' actions. Do I have control of what's happening of COVID the world over? I have no control. The least I can have or claim control is I have a control over myself. I can at least be a master of my own actions. What a state it would be when I have no control over my own actions. If I have no control over my actions, how can I sit and complain that others are not doing what I want? I have not mastered myself. So the only way you will change your whole life is by changing, making that mental shift. The mental shift, the paradigm shift is, remember, happiness is within. So also hell and heaven are states of my own mind. It is my own creation. Discount the world out of it. Take the world out of the equation and look at the world with a different perception. The moment you change your outlook, your relationship with the world changes. You're able to make a proper assessment. In fact, I say to answer this question, how does one deal with challenges? It's all, I said, self-created. It boils down to this simple principle of making a proper and a healthy assessment of the world you live in. Just take a fresh stock of what the world is. What is the world presenting? Make proper assessments. You must understand there's a difference between assessment and expectation. Put aside your expectation. Take a stock of what is coming your way. Assessment. Well, and when you assess, you have a perfect relationship.
You led straight into my next question. So if you're living without expectation, I mean, does that mean you're living without an objective?
Not at all. Not at all. How did you come up with these questions, Michelle? I must say that. Wonderful. So that we're not saying you should not have expectations. Okay. What we are saying is you must not have unreasonable expectations.
Or controlling expectations.
You must be rational. You must be realistic in your expectations. When your expectations are unrealistic, you land up in disappointments. And when you're disappointed, you're agitated. When you're agitated, you have lost your peace and happiness. I come again. When you have wrong assessment, you would have wrong expectations or unreasonable expectations. I repeat, when you have wrong assessment, you have wrong expectation or unreasonable expectation. And when those expectations are not met or satisfied, you would land up in disappointments. And that disappointment is you complain and grumble. As their saying goes, all grumbling tantamount to, why is a lily not an oak? A lily is a lily, an oak is an oak. And what are you complaining, man? You got to accept it. So it's not that you don't have an objective. In fact, your objective becomes very clear. You have a very clear purpose with life. You know how to steer yourself through the multifold challenges of what life presents to you, because you're clearly able to assess, you're able to relate with people clearly, and you don't have mental accidents. No mental accidents. And it all boils down to making clear assessments within. A beautiful reference when George Bernard Shaw, the famous thinker, when George Bernard Shaw was asked who is the most intelligent man he met in his life, Bernard Shaw remarked, he said, my tailor. My tailor is the most intelligent person I ever met in his life. When he was asked why, he remarked, he said, he's the only one who takes fresh measurements whenever I go to him. So just take fresh measurements with life. You'll have no surprises. You'll not be alarmed. You'll make a proper assessment. You'll make a right relationship. So we're not saying not to have an expectation. We're only saying be realistic and reasonable in your expectations. You'll not be surprised.
And keep in mind the, was that Vinasana?
Vasanas,
Vinasana.
correct.
Yeah.
Vasana.
It's in the
Vasana. Vasana means fragrance. Wonderful, wonderful, Michelle.
No, that's just, it's so important to keep that in mind, because I know I've heard people, and you watch them on social media, and people are like, why are they doing that? Why that? Why? And it's like, it's in their nature.
That's them.
Be prepared. Just know what's going to happen. Or
Absolutely.
living without expectation. No, expect. Just don't control the expectation. And that's really part of the reason I wanted you on my mental shift, is because, just like you were saying, it takes a mental shift to realize that it's all you. It's all
within.
here.
Yes, absolutely.
And to have someone like you, I love this. I've never heard that. I did not know why we did that. I find it very calming when I'm meditating.
Oh, yes,
So
very true.
Yeah, but I didn't know the meaning behind it. So that is beautiful. Now, one more question, and I promise because we're coming up to our whole hour already.
Oh, wow. Okay.
How can we be happy and relaxed and active and successful at the same time? Because, well, can you answer that without me giving a lot of explanation?
Yeah. I hope I have a few minutes to give an insight, because this is the crux, is the quintessence. Every human has got two primary objectives, which is acquisition and enjoyment. I wouldn't go into the detail of it. Everybody wants to acquire, and everybody, having acquired, they want to enjoy. So there's a desire to be productive. There's a desire to be industrious. At the same time, there is a genuine desire to find peace, happiness, and contentment within. So humanity perennially has been striving to fulfill these two primary objectives of life, which is acquisition and enjoyment. You want to prosper, you want to advance, you want to grow materially. Also, you want to find yourself peaceful, contented, and happy at the same time. Now, when you look at life, you find the three categories of people. Now, the wisdom is so profound. They have it all laid down. It's all there. It's all there, sadly, in anonymity. It's all there in their contemporary thought and language. So some of us have embarked on this journey and committed to unearth this wisdom and bring it out to help and serve people. It's all there. Nothing of it is mine. It's just trying to facilitate that transition of wisdom from to humanity now. Now, the three states, what they're talking about is, one is known as an inactive state. A state of inaction, the term used is known as tamas. Tamas. These are all the Sanskrit words. I'm translating it as being inactive. So tamas is a mental state where you're inactive, you're lethargic, you're indolent, your actions are reckless, heedless, you procrastinate things, an attitude of inaction. So when a person is inactive or they sloth, you find they only achieve one of the two. You find they're very peaceful. because they're not bothered. As the saying goes, ignorance is bliss. Isn't it? So that's tamas. Tamas is where you are ignorant about it. You do not know, and you're fine. Like I could be a carrier of virus, the coronavirus now, and I do not know, and I'm blissfully unaware of it, and I'm fine. I'm healthy because I'm asymptomatic. I don't have any symptoms to call off having the virus, but I can be having it and yet be ignorant of it. So I'm blissfully unaware. Ignorance is bliss, isn't it? So you find people in tamasic category are very peaceful, but they're not industrious, they're not productive. You find nations are not just individuals, nations are. You find certain nations are very peaceful, but they're not productive. For example, Bhutan. Bhutan is said to be the happiest nation on earth. And when you go to that beautiful country, heaven on earth, you'll find they're not as technologically advanced as any superpower or any modern society. Their facilities may not be up to the mark. They don't have beautiful facilities, but they are the happiest nation on earth, Bhutan. That's tamas. So you can find an individual falls into the category. You find a nation at large, a society at large falls into the bracket. And then the second class of people are known as rajas. 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 Rajas is a state where you're hyperactive. You're full of energy. You're running with enthusiasm and excitement. There is anxiety. Your actions are desire-ridden. You're disappointed. You're dejected. You go through mental depressions. You have mental accidents. But they're very, very active people. So you find the second bracket of people are very active, dynamic. They're running around. They're industrious. So you find they're productive. They're prosperous. They have a lot of wealth. They have advanced materially. But because of their inability to handle their lives and the mental accidents, they have lost their peace and composure within. So they found productivity. They've acquired the world, but they don't have an appetite to enjoy life. They have lost their peace and happiness. Take, for example, a developed country like Japan, technologically developed, a small pocket land. What technology they have, what advancement they have. They have such efficiency. Today, if I pick up anything made in Japan, I know it is for quality, isn't it? Any Japanese product, they have a certain quality. It's a reputation they've built. But yet, Japan has the highest suicide rates in the world. They are workaholics. They're able to advance, they're able to produce so much of materiality, quality, but the quality of life dips where there is no peace and happiness. That's rajas. No, sattva, Satva, sattva is the highest mental state where you're productive, you're active, you're industrious, you're at the same time, you're peaceful and equanimous.
How do you spell that again?
Satva, sattva. So it's tamas, rajas, and sattva. Sattva is a state where you're able to bring about actions with great precision, efficiency. At the same time, you're mentally balanced, equanimous. And I just take a couple of examples to illustrate what it is. You find bullet train. A bullet train travels at an average speed of 450 kilometers an hour. And yet, when you are traveling in that bullet train at that mind-boggling speed, you don't even experience a ripple in the teacup. That's efficiency. It's not that you're having a roller coaster ride at that speed. You're having a beautiful, you see everything, you're zipping past you, but you are having a beautiful ride. You're enjoying the ride. So there is dynamism and yet that equanimity. A second example is perhaps We all have experienced traveling on an aircraft. An aircraft, when it's flying in its cruising altitude of 40,000 feet, it travels at more than 500 miles an hour, or approx there, and you having a sound sleep. How is it possible? It's not that you're being, you're rolling all over. No, you're safe and sound. In fact, you unfasten your seatbelts. In fact, you're having a flat bed up in the sky at freezing temperatures. You're just enjoying a sound sleep. So you have technology where you have conveying. I'm trying to convey the spirit of where you have efficiency, at the same time you have peace of mind. So people are falling from tamas to rajas, rajas to sattva. People hardly have come to the state of sattva. Tamas to rajas, rajas to sattva, rajas to tamas. So they're just flipping from tamas to rajas. But nobody ever rises to the level of sattva where they understand the beauty and grandeur of action. And the only way you can get into the beauty and grandeur of action, the only way you'll command that mental peace is by conquering your own mind, by conquering your own impulses, by conquering your own selfish demands, by working, envisioning a larger cause. You work for a cause which is known as yajna. Michelle, just that last word, if you can capture yajna, Y-A-J-N-A. Y, or you can, perhaps you want to put it Y-A-G-N-A, that's better as well. Y-A-G-N-A. Repeat. Y-A-G-N-A. It's called the spirit of service and sacrifice. When one works in a spirit of service and sacrifice to accommodate a larger interest, the welfare of others, you'll find your actions are of great inspiration, great motivation, because you're thinking in the larger cause, not of your own personal interest.
Yajna.
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 Going back even to the equation of a relationship, you can maintain a relationship only when the spirit of, when you think in the other person's behalf, not of your own selfishness, isn't it? So expand the same feeling for a larger interest. When you're able to identify with a larger cause, you find such actions are very satisfying. So you're mentally at peace, and also it makes you very industrious. There's a great inspiration. You have a great motivation to work for a larger cause. So that way you will be able to combine production. You will be able to find yourself active, successful, at the same time peaceful and relaxed.
Ah, the blissful state of both.
And where do you find it? You should find it in the garb of action. While you're acting, you will find yourself peaceful. While acting, you will get yourself prosperity. Because you give up action, you will lose prosperity. Like tamasic people. They want peace. You get away from a holiday. You don't take a break, you break down.
Yeah. So you can't go on holiday forever, but you can't work forever. There's got to be that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you can always take a holiday, but you wouldn't need a holiday. The moment you find that you need a holiday, you're on the verge of breaking down. There's a world of different. I'm not saying you shouldn't take a holiday, but no, you should find that peace and happiness in the garb of work.
Yes,
that is the principle of karma or action.
That's what they say. What is it? The saying is, when you love what you do, you don't need a vacation.
Absolutely, you've hit the nail on the head. Absolutely, you do it with such passion and joy, and you're dedicating everything of yours to the larger interest. Work thrives. Everything you relish. Everything comforts you, satisfies you. You find yourself in perfect balance and equanimity within.
Well, I really hate that we're at an hour and I want to keep going. But this is my thing. I want to make sure that everyone knows, go to the wisdomfoundation.co.in. Guruji is just a fascinating person to be around, and he opens your mind to possibilities that you didn't even know were there. So he definitely has classes that are out there. I will put an image into the thread down here underneath this show. I will put an image that is all the different courses that he has and the links to them. I don't have an active link that I can put in an image, so let's see what I can end up doing and putting it in there for you. But definitely go to the www.wisdomfoundation.co.in, because I know Guruji has just set you all on fire and that you all want more. And I know you have questions and you want more. So definitely reach out to him. And maybe I'll see you on a Sunday night course, because it's incredible. And if you're out there and you're wondering about your stressors in your life and what's going on and what are you going to do when you grow up, remember, stop trying to control the world. Control your mind. And the first place you want to do to control your mind is have a guide that can help you see what you aren't seeing. And that is why Guruji is so important in my world, because you have to question yourself. If you go through life walking and just accepting everything as it is and seeing yourself as a victim, that is your choice.
Absolutely.
So find control, find the meaning behind what you do, and find a mentor. Because I have. Find a mentor. And
Wonderful.
definitely look up the classes. He has Sunday night classes, the Wednesday, Sunday, and then Friday again. So go to I promise I'll put an image in. And if you have more questions, go to info@wisdomfoundation.co.in and reach out, because you will see more of Guruji. Trust me, he will be with me more, because the world needs more of this wisdom coming out, of this ancient wisdom that we've forgotten. And for those of you in the United States, we didn't even know it existed, really, did we? So thank you so much, Guruji, for being with us. And I hope that every month you can join me, and especially when this moves to the TV show on TNC, that you join me once a month and we spread the wisdom of the ancient knowledge. And I was that
Sanatana
Dharma,
Dharma. Oh, you got it. Yes, Sanatana Dharma. Absolutely. Wonderful.
because this is where the world has forgotten our knowledge, and we need to bring that back so that we can find in our own minds the perception that we're projecting out as chaos.
Yeah.
It's us. Let's take control of it by controlling us. So please reach out to Guruji, and please make comments in on the side, because he'll see them and he can answer them even after we go off the live. But thank you for all joining us. You've been with us for over an hour now, and we appreciate you so much. And Guruji, can you stay on a little bit longer after we go off the live?
Absolutely. I can. I will.
Okay.
Really appreciate, and lovely connecting, Michelle. Thank you for having a wonderful conversation. Thank you very much.
It was phenomenal. And I really don't want you to stop. We could have a 10-hour podcast, but I don't think the platforms will allow me. Now, I have one big question for you.
Yeah.
What is one bit of advice, one small bit of advice that everyone listening right now can take home and maybe absorb into until they connect with you?
I think the very famous words of the great Vivekananda, the great Indian philosopher thinker, he said, "You conquer your mind, you conquer the world." So it's not out there, it's all within. Conquer your mind, you have conquered the world.
Love it.
So I would appeal to everyone to seek shelter, surrender to this wisdom, and it will pave way, it will enlighten you, it will pave way for brighter worlds. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you the next time Guruji joins me on Mental Shift. Until then, have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye.